We're going to go ahead and bring up Nathan right now. Nathan Davenport is the product manager for PTI Security Systems. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Nathan.
Yeah, thanks, Jess. I appreciate that. I am the solutions manager over the product team at PTI Security Systems. PTI has been around for about 40 years, so well known throughout the industry, mostly for keypads and controllers and the on-premise software. A lot has changed over the years, and so I'm very excited to be able to talk through what I've come to really focus on over the 4 years I've been at PTI. And that's mostly the cloud software. And there is a lot that we can talk about. To set the stage, I think it's pretty important to understand the history of access control in the industry. And you can see this picture is kind of an overview of a typical site these days. Historically, access control could have just been a fence and maybe a padlock on the gate. And over the years, the security and the access control kind of moved and migrated more towards the units. And these days you see a lot more integration with locks, smart Bluetooth locks on the units. And sky's the limit, really. PTI, one of the cool things about PTI and as a product manager for PTI is we were acquired by one of the largest access control providers in the world called Assa Abloy. And so being able to help drive the roadmap and see what we're going to be doing in the next 5 years is incredibly exciting. A lot of our partners are getting little glimpses of this. So we're going to show you kind of what we have right now, what we have for you right now, and how you can really improve your efficiency throughout your property. It's not just about security. Security is great. We need that. That's the first thing we need. But improving your operation, especially when you have multiple sites these days as the industry is consolidating. That's really what it's all about. So want to provide you just a little overview of kind of where we used to be and where maybe a lot of us still are. No, nothing wrong with that. But access control of the past, especially when we're talking about the software side, the piece that actually configures your keypads, your access areas, your tenants, that has historically been on premise. So PTI and other vendors throughout the industry would send you a USB or a CD and typically have an installer kind of set it up for you and configure it. And they would map all the addresses to your devices and make sure that everything was set up. And that was great. It was rock solid. It still is rock solid. It's obviously been around for a long time, so it's tried and true. And there's nothing wrong at all with still using that. But when you really are looking for opportunities to provide an operational return on investment, you really need to start thinking about how you can leverage the products that are in the market that are multi-site operational. One of the drawbacks to classic software on premises is there was no real updates. Maybe every 2 years you'd get a new USB. It would have some bugs knocked out of it, and you would pop it in and get to leverage a couple new features. Well, these days we're releasing new features every 2 weeks, and you aren't paying any different. And it's instantaneous, and you wake up the next day and you get to take advantage of it. So there's true needs, and not just a sales pitch, but true operational needs for cloud access control these days. So excuse me, let me show you what it's looking like more at this point. So first of all, obviously, if you have 6 sites like this photo shows, you can have access to all of this anywhere you have internet access. I think that's pretty clear these days. But you don't have the single database that you used to just be able to peer into, right? So if you have classic software, you could remote into the PC, but you couldn't see multiple sites worth of data aggregated on one page. That's huge, because now you can really see where your troubles are arising. You can take advantage of the data that's available. Let me just paint a picture for you real quick. What would you do if you could see the average time your unit was open across all 6 of your properties? If this was your property portfolio and you could see that, okay, the average unit is open, let's say 30 minutes. So anytime you see something over a specific threshold at a certain level, and it may be different for different regions, you could say, okay, well, this person might actually be about to do something. They might be possibly looking to take inventory of everything that's in their unit so they can go ahead and schedule a move out date. Right? Or they may be taking a look at it. They just received a rate increase and now they're pretty upset about it. And so they're taking a look at their stuff and seeing if it's worth it. There's a lot you can tell through the data, but you don't get that through classic on-premise software. I think another cool thing, and I'm going to show you in the software here in just a second with the notifications and the dashboard, but the automated backups are a huge advantage. PTI specifically uses Amazon Web Service to host all of our data. Other ones out there are Azure, that's Microsoft's hosting service, but AWS actually backs up our customers' data 17 times a day. So that means that in the worst possible instance, for whatever reason, if you lost all of your PC, your data, whatever the case was, at worst, you would lose 1/17 of your day's data. There's a ton of peace of mind in that. And that's really getting into the weeds. But I think the main point is that it takes the thought out of having to secure a local PC on your site. So I want to kind of move into a little bit more detail on what exactly you can do with cloud software and what it looks like. PTI and other groups, again, I work for PTI, so I know it the best, so I want to talk about it. But we provide a tenant-facing mobile application and an operator-facing mobile application. We have EasyCode and StoreLogix Mobile, and both of these work seamlessly with the cloud software. So your tenants can literally just approach gates, and they can, if they're in a specific area and they're allowed to be in the area and they're paid up, they can open gates without having to get out of their car, press buttons. It's very, very efficient these days. And there's a lot, like I said, on the roadmap that's going to boost this in the coming months. So I'm pretty excited about that one. Really, I think what this does is it gives your tenants the best experience possible. So your customers and your operation has the best experience possible because they're always connected. You're not separated. So I want to stop sharing slides because I know that can get a little dull sometimes, and I want to actually show you what it takes or what it looks like in the software itself. So let me get that pulled up real quick. And here's an example right now of StoreLogix Cloud. And this is PTI's kind of flagship software. Again, all this used to be local. It looked way different, more like Windows 95. These days, it's more up to the times. And you can see this is really set up for managing multiple properties. So you see it's made up of really 3 or 4 different regions. We've got our geographic map over here. And you could actually, if you had a full portfolio of 10 or 20 sites even, you could see how this would become very valuable. You can zoom in, you can click in and see your clusters of sites. And obviously when they're red, that's not a good thing. This is obviously a demo environment, so I'm going to have a lot of red KPIs and different things to show you. But normally most of these are green, and you can just take a quick glance and see the status of your portfolio. So there's a lot of value there. I think really from an operational standpoint, you want to do a few things. So first of all is your controller online or offline? This is obviously going to be the brains of your system. And so you want to know right off the bat, is it online or offline? If it's offline, obviously that's an issue. With PTI, the controller retains the latest information. So even if it's offline, you're never going to be completely offline, like not operational. It still has its own memory, and it can still, whatever it received last, it can still operate off of, and tenants can come and go. But obviously new updates will not be able to take advantage of. So that's one thing. I think access points would be your next. This is going to be your 2 biggest pieces of hardware investment, the controller and then the keypads or readers. And this is going to show you a full list of all of your sites. If you have any issues, as you can see, they're going to pop up here. You've got just one that's offline. So you can click into it and it's going to take you down to that site level. And I think it's pretty important to see that, it's not just saying, hey, there's an issue. It's going to then take you to the problem so you can start piecing together the breadcrumbs and find out what exactly happened. There's a lot of cool things back on that. Let me slide back to another instance that I have pulled up here. And you can see at the bottom, we have access ways. So you can quickly fire your gates opened or closed. You can hold them open or lock them down if there's an emergency. But what I really was excited to show you was a little bit of the notifications, because as we know, you're not going to be spending your entire day staring at a dashboard. You have a job to do and things to take care of. So you want to be notified of things that are important to you. And so what this is our notification engine. And I'm just going to open up one that I've already created just so we can kind of talk through it a little bit. There are really only two spots that we have to worry about. You have your main information. So we're just setting up, okay, the name, the schedule. So you can set up off hours. If you want to, set it up for after hours, you can do that. You can pick and choose which sites you want to actually apply this notification to. And let me back up over here to this one so I can adjust that real quick. Apologies. Notifications. There we go. Then edit. There we go. So once you have set up your schedule and you've picked the sites that you want to apply to this, you then can go into the events, right? So this is the main point of this, is to not show you everything that's happening. It's to show you what you care about. Let's say we don't really care about granted entries, because that's what should happen. Maybe just denied exits because someone's trapped inside the gates. Let's do that. Alarm events, depending on what you're using. If you're using door alarms, like I said, those might actually give you a lot of value. You want to know when a vacant unit has been opened. So I'm going to hit setup. You can do some door gate events, some controller events, and then you can filter every single one of these events into a particular tenant. So if you have a troublemaker that is always causing problems, you can select him and say, okay, I don't really care about anybody else, but if these two guys get on the property, I want to know if anything valuable happens because they're always causing issues. You can do the same thing with your units. You could filter every one of these events into a section of your units on the property. And you could say, okay, this corner is not lit up at night, right? And so it feels a bit vulnerable. I want to know if any of this stuff happens to these units and nothing else, and then just ignore everything else. Again, what we're trying to do is cut out the things you don't care about, minimize the false alarms. So that is setting up the information. And then you have 3 options to send the information. And this is really cool. You can set up SMS messages. So you could say, okay, I want all of my my employees to be notified of the events that I just selected. And I'm going to add all of their phone numbers in here. Or you could say, I also want email, and you could add all their email addresses. It's going to provide these wildcard pieces of information. So it's going to show you the timestamps, the site name, exactly what's going on the property. Or, as I mentioned before, you have the StoreLogic's mobile app, which is for operators. And you can actually receive a push notification, just like you would with your iPhone or your Android. A little icon would pop up at the top. You swipe down on your phone, and there's a message for you. That would then take you in on your mobile application into the issue. So all 3 of these, paired with the specific events that you can select and choose, make this incredibly powerful. And again, this is going back to being able to set up your full operation in an efficient way. You could think about this, using this as a way to automate or potentially remote manage your facilities. You could have one district manager managing 5 sites, and using a combination of StoreLogic's mobile, these notifications, the dashboard. All these different things are going to be a way to increase that efficiency for you. So those were a quick run through of the dashboard and the notification piece. I also did want to show you a report real quick, a couple of the reporting options, which I think are pretty valuable these days as well. So under the reporting section, you have a lot of information, and this can be downloaded via PDF or Excel. And you can quickly find out the status of whichever sites you're looking at. So if you're looking at 10 different sites, this is going to aggregate 10 different sites worth of data. You have 40 different reports in here to take a look at. So all the way from your standard health check, how's my entire property looking? It's going to break down the controller status, device online, all that information, as well as you can see specific site activity from loitering. So if a customer has been on the property for 2 hours and you're typically, you see them on and off in about an hour, you can be notified of that. You can run a report for the past month and find that information. So I could talk about this for hours, as you can tell. I don't want to do that. I want to see if there's any questions or anything, Jess, you have for me on that side.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, this is really, really enlightening. I'm a huge data nerd, so I absolutely love all of the data. And when I was a property manager, that's something that I really thrived on, was making sure that I was being the most responsible with my property by using the data that PTI actually provided to the manager or to the owner that I was working with.
Right.
From an owner operator standpoint, what does it look like to implement PTI security software?
Great question. So we have a preferred partner network, groups like ACT, SOS, dealer groups that have been doing installation of PTI products and are experts in our hardware and software for 40 years. So it starts with them getting a hold of that group. They typically will go ahead and configure your database, and then we take it over from there. And it takes about an hour for us to configure the cloud site for you. We'll provide you a walkthrough. We'll provide you a lot of information. We have a learning management software. So we don't just hand you the keys and walk away. We kind of, white glove you into the experience so you can take full advantage of it.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us today. Honestly, you provided so much great information, and we really appreciate the fact that we get to partner with you guys every single day. We've gone ahead and dropped your virtual booth in the chat for people to be able to click into. And if you guys have any more questions, you guys can email Nathan directly. Thank you guys so much.